How to hoop a knitted item on a non-commercial embroidery machine. I've been asked to monogram these beautiful knitted socks for Christmas. It's going to be hanging on a mantle. And my challenge is I don't have an industrial embroidery machine. Knitting on knits can be challenging, so I'm going to show you how I do it. First thing I do is I'm going to take my hoop. I've already measured the proper size for the stocking. I did all the lettering in my program, and I use Embird as my monogramming program. So I hoop my stabilizer, and my stabilizer has these tiny little thin nylon strings, I guess, running through it. And that helps support the embroidery as well. I printed out a template, so I'm going to cut the template out. And again, I use this on my Embird embroidery software. And the font that I'm using is Shell. So I just lay it down. I lay the monogram down. And I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to put it through. I need to do it this way. I'm going to make sure that it's even, and I'm going to put it through the center line, and that's important because I'm going to be using that center line later. I'm going to put another pin on the edge, making sure that this line is even. Take a second look. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to come over to my embroidery hoop, and I'm going to make my marking lines right on my stabilizer. I'm going to try to get this as perfect as possible. And I'm making hash marks right on the markings that are on the hoop. So I want them in line. So now I have a perfect center point. I'm going to take another pin. Well, actually, before I do that, I'm going to pull this out a little bit. I'm going to turn my stocking inside out. And because this stretches, I'm able to do it this way. So now I have the lettering facing me, and I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to put it in the center point, and that's going to line up with the center point that's on my embroidery hoop. I'm going to fan out the back of the stocking, and I'm going to put my center point right into, oops, right into my center point on the hoop. So I'm taking that pin, I'm putting it down in the middle, the center point, pushing it out directly on the other side. Take my next pin, put it inside or on that line, push it out the other end. Take my pin, put it in the line, line it up with my hash marks that I already made, and push it out the other side. So now I have several pins in here, and I'm going to have a lot more. I'm going to fan out the back again, and I'm going to make sure that this is pinned in the back, or I could use clips, one or the other. And this also helps keep the embroidery, and I'm going to put it on the stabilizer. This helps keep the embroidery from getting caught in the rest of the knitwear. Sometimes it will fall in and it would sew on itself. So now I'm going to bring this over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to add a topping on it, a water-soluble topping, to help the stitches stay up versus getting sunk into the knitwear. So I'm going to be using my Brother machine. I just finished Robert before. I'm going to go back again, delete the pattern, yep, and now I'm going to upload from my stick, and the name is Leslie, so I'm going to find Leslie, click on it. I'm going to press this button here to upload to the machine. Adjust the position, and I am going to hit layout, and I'm going to move my arrows until it is centered right there, and I could sink the needle down. Yeah, it's in the center position. That looks pretty good. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to go to this icon and I'm going to move it. So I'm going to press the corner here because I want it to go into the upper corner, because now I'm going to be removing the pins. Alright, I went back and I placed a pin here in the corner, so this way it will stay in place. I placed a pin at the top to help keep the knit down, and I placed a pin right here to help the pin help the knit stay in place. And now I can remove these pins right here because I know that it is centered. But I am going to be using a topping. Water-soluble topping. And I'm just going to put it underneath because I want to make sure that my lettering will be caught and under the topping. So I pin that there, bring it back to the center by 2 side pins, and the knit is being held in place because I didn't hoop it with 2 other pins. Bring it down and press start. And I'll meet you when it's done. So here's Leslie's, which is completed. I'm going to remove all the pins. These 2 pins were holding the top stabilizer. And because the water-soluble stabilizer is like a plastic, I'm going to just run the bottom of this, which is rubbery, and it's going to pull off any of the stabilizer that didn't come off. I'm going to come in and trim some of the jump threads, being very careful not to actually catch the knit. Now I'm going to remove the rest of the pins. These were supporting pins, just making sure that it was keeping everything out of the way. I'm going to have a couple of pins back here that were just holding the knit onto the stabilizer. And I'm going to take my scissors And I'm going to cut a hole, and I'm going to keep my my finger, right up against my embroidery and my knit. So when I cut into it, I'm going to run my scissor along my finger, and that will keep it away from cutting into or accidentally cutting into the fabric, because you certainly don't want to do that. And if there's any more to trim, if it's too close to the overhang, then I'll come in and I'll trim that out. Again, being careful to stay away from the knit. I'm going to turn this back inside out, shape it, and there is a beautifully embroidered stocking. Come visit us at dinahsquilts.com.